Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a great king, and he was simultaneously the most powerful man in the kingdom as well as the kindest and gentlest man in the whole realm. The kingdom was known for its peace, harmony, and goodwill. Neighbors cherished one another, and years would pass without a single crime being committed. One day, however, the chief servant of the merciful king came into the throne room with ill tidings. "There is a thief in the realm of your kingdom, sire," said the servant. The king was astonished. "Find that thief, and when you do, bring him to me. He will be punished with 10 lashes. Those in the room were astonished as well. It had been so long since a crime had been committed, they could hardly imagine who would have done such a thing. Well, a week goes by, and the servant again made his way into the throne room, and he says, "I have bad news for you, sire. The thief has not been found, and he continues to rob from your people." And in anger, the king raised his voice and said, "Find this thief, and when you do, he will receive 25 lashes. And the people began to murmur among themselves, "Who could withstand such a punishment? Who could possibly be committing such a crime?" As word spread through the kingdom and as time went on, the servant once again comes back into the throne room with more bad news. "Your Majesty, the thief has not been found. We have searched in vain for him, and your people are still being robbed, and now the king is enraged. Find that wretched thief, and when you do, his punishment will be 50 lashes. And now the people were filled with dread. They were not even sure the king himself could withstand such a punishment. And if he could not, then certainly no one else could. Who could be doing such a thing? Well, soon afterward, the servant again approached the king in his throne room, and his face was pale, and his voice was timid and hollow. "Your Highness," spoke the servant, "the thief has been found." "Bring him to me this instant," cried the king. The crowd had poured into the throne room. They slowly parted, revealing the thief, who now stood trembling in the middle of the room. And to the utter shock and dismay of all, it was the king's aged mother. There she stood, trembling and crying. Her small and frail body was shaking with fear and shame. She was, perhaps, the very last soul that anyone would have suspected of such a crime. And there stood the king, in shock, deeply wounded. The crowd began to wonder and murmur among themselves, "What will the merciful king do? Will he set aside the law and display his love and mercy by forgiving his mother for her crimes, or will he display his sovereignty and his justice by giving her exactly what she deserved? Will he choose mercy, or will he choose justice?" And the king raised his hand to quiet the crowd. "Bring the whipping post," he said. And the crowd was dumbfounded. Would the king truly have his mother receive such a punishment? Even the king scarcely could survive such a flogging, and this frail woman would not last even a few strokes. Everybody knew it. Well, they had the old woman tied to the post, her garment ripped, exposing her back to the whipmaster. You could count her ribs, she was so frail. "Administer the lashes," said the king. You could hear a pin drop as the whip was raised. But just as the whipmaster was about to unleash his first stroke, the king cries out, "Halt!" The crowd sighed in utter relief, but the feeling did not last for long. The king stood up, stepped down from his throne. He slowly removed the crown from his head, laying it upon the regal seat, and as he began to walk down the stairs toward his mother, he laid aside his royal robe and his finely woven tunic. Coming to his mother, he wrapped his enormous body around her, completely enveloping her under his frame. And the king spoke. "Now, administer the lashes." Thus, in one act, did the king display pure mercy and pure justice.